I'm a trauma surgeon. I've seen everything. Gunshot wounds, car crashes, people dying in ways you can't imagine. But nothing prepared me for the night they wheeled him into my ER. He wasn't human. He was dying. And with his last breath, he told me something about Jesus Christ that the Vatican has spent 2,000 years trying to hide. Before I tell you his final words, hit that subscribe button. Because what this dying alien revealed will make you question everything you think you know about the crucifixion. My name is Dr. Marcus Webb, and I'm a trauma surgeon at County General Hospital in Phoenix, Arizona. I've been doing this for 18 years. I've pronounced hundreds of people dead. I've saved hundreds more. I thought I'd seen everything the human body could endure. I was wrong. It was 2:43 a.m. on a Tuesday in August, when everything I thought I knew about reality shattered. I was finishing up paperwork from a motorcycle accident when the charge nurse, Rita, burst into the doctor's lounge. "Dr. Webb, we need you in Trauma 1. Now." The urgency in her voice got me moving immediately. Rita had been an ER nurse for 30 years. Nothing rattled her, but her face was white. "What have we got?" I asked, scrubbing in as I walked toward the trauma bay. I don't know how to describe it. Try. MVA, GSW. What are we dealing with? Just look. I pushed through the doors into Trauma 1 and stopped dead. On the gurney was something that shouldn't exist. The patient was humanoid, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. But that's where the similarity ended. The skin was a deep indigo blue, smooth and almost translucent. I could see what looked like veins underneath, but they glowed faintly with a bioluminescent quality. The hands had 6 fingers each, long and delicate. The head was slightly larger than human proportion, with eyes that were closed but enormous even in their closed state. And he was dying. Even without examining him, I could see that. The breathing was shallow and labored. The bioluminescence was fading, flickering like a dying light bulb. There were wounds, deep lacerations across the chest and abdomen that leaked a silvery fluid I assumed was blood. My team stood frozen around the gurney, staring. "Someone start talking," I snapped, falling back on training when my brain refused to process what I was seeing. "How did he get here? Who brought him in?" "2 guys in military uniforms," Rita said. "They didn't give names. Said there was an accident at the airbase. Said to save him if we could. Then they left." "Dr. Webb, what is that?" "A patient," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. "A patient who is dying and needs our help. Let's move." Training took over. I didn't understand what I was looking at, but I understood trauma. I understood dying. And this being, whatever he was doing both. "Get me vitals. Whatever passes for vitals. BP, pulse, respiratory rate. Adapt as needed." My team snapped into action, grateful to have something concrete to do. We attached monitors, but the readings were chaos. Heart rate, if he had a heart, was over 200 and climbing. Blood pressure non-existent, or our equipment couldn't read it. Oxygen saturation meaningless. "He's crashing," I said, watching the faint glow under his skin dim further. "Prep for intubation. And someone call... Hell, I don't know who to call. Call the CDC. Call the Pentagon. Call someone." I leaned over the being, looking at the wounds. Deep, penetrating trauma. Possibly from projectiles. The silvery blood was pooling on the table beneath him. "Sir," I said, not knowing if he could hear me, not knowing what else to call him. "Sir, I'm Dr. Webb. I'm going to try to help you. Can you hear me? His eyes opened. They were completely silver. No whites, no pupils, just liquid silver that somehow focused on my face with perfect clarity. His lips moved. A sound came out. Not words I recognized, but I understood them anyway. Not in my ears, but in my mind. Too late. I am dying. Not if I can help it, I said. Listen. Please, what so little time. Must tell you about your Jesus. And then he started seizing. He's seizing! Get me 10 milligrams of Ativan, I shouted, even though I had no idea if human medications would work on alien physiology. The being's body convulsed violently on the gurney. The silver blood splattered across my scrubs. His 6-fingered hands clenched and unclenched. The wounds on his chest tore wider with each spasm. I can't get a line. Maria, one of my best nurses, was trying to start an IV, but his veins, if they were veins, kept collapsing or moving under the skin. Forget the IV. Give it IM if you have to. We need to stop the seizure before he herniates. Maria plunged the syringe directly into his shoulder. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, agonizingly, the seizures began to subside. But his breathing got worse. Shallow, gasping. Intubate, Rita asked, holding the laryngoscope ready. I looked at his mouth, at the structure of his throat visible through the translucent skin. It was all wrong. Human anatomy didn't apply here. If I tried to intubate and got it wrong, I'd kill him faster than the wounds would. Not yet. Bag him. High-flow oxygen. Let's see if he responds. While Rita managed his airway as best she could, I examined the wounds. There were 3 major lacerations. They looked like bullet wounds? No, cleaner than that. More like precision cuts from something impossibly sharp. The silvery blood was slowing, but not stopping. He was bleeding out, and I had no idea what his blood volume was or how to replace it. Type and cross? I asked, already knowing it was useless. With what? Maria said. We don't have alien blood in the blood bank. I almost laughed at the absurdity. Here I was, a trauma surgeon trained at Johns Hopkins, trying to save a dying alien with Earth medicine and no frame of reference. Okay, I said, thinking out loud. Basics. Stop the bleeding, support respirations, maintain perfusion. Let's pack these wounds. Maria, get me lap pads. I packed the largest wound with gauze, applying pressure. The silvery blood soaked through immediately, but the flow slowed. That was something. His eyes opened again, those liquid silver orbs finding mine. Please do not waste your time. I am beyond your healing. Let me be the judge of that, I said. You are kind, like he was. Like Jesus. Don't talk. Save your strength. No. Must talk. While I can. Must tell you. Before I die. You're not going to die. A sound came from him that might have been a laugh or a sob. I have been dying for 3 days since they shot me down. Since they discovered what I knew. Who shot you down? The military? The guys who brought you here? Yes. I was observer, watcher, but I saw too much, learned too much about your Jesus, about the crucifixion, about what really happened on that hill. His hand, those long 6 fingers, reached out and grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. His silver eyes bored into mine. They do not want you to know the truth. But you must hear, before the church, before they come to silence me. And you. Nobody's silencing anybody, I said. You're in my ER. You're my patient. And I'm going to save you. Then save my message. If you cannot, save me. The monitors started alarming. His heart rate, or whatever he had, was dropping rapidly. He was dying despite everything I was doing, and he knew it. Please let me tell you about Jesus, about what I saw on Golgotha. Somebody shut off those alarms, I barked. I needed to hear him, needed to focus. The room went quiet except for the hiss of oxygen and his labored breathing. I kept pressure on the wounds, kept trying to save him, but part of me knew he was right. Whatever damage had been done over 3 days was too extensive. I was watching him die in slow motion. Okay, I said quietly. I'm listening. Tell me about Jesus. His silver eyes seemed to brighten slightly. I was there, 2,000 years ago. My people. We watch. We observe. We have watched. Your species. Since you first looked at stars and wondered. You're saying aliens have been watching Earth for thousands of years? Yes. We document. We record. We witness. We do not interfere. But we watch. And I watched. The crucifixion of Jesus Christ. My hands continued working mechanically, changing blood-soaked gauze, checking for any sign his condition was stabilizing. It wasn't. But I kept trying. What did you see? I asked. Everything. I was there. Invisible to human eyes. Our technology allows. We stood on Golgotha, watched them nail him to the wood, watched him suffer for 6 hours. His breathing was getting more labored. I could see the light under his skin dimming further. Rita, start chest compressions if he arrests, I said quietly. Then to him, keep talking. What happened that the Bible doesn't tell us? He did not die for your sins. The words hit me like a physical blow. I'm not particularly religious, but I was raised Christian. That statement contradicted everything I'd been taught. What do you mean? That is what, your church teaches, but it is not. What happened? Jesus knew. He was being executed for political reasons, for threatening Roman authority, for upsetting religious leaders. So he was just a political prisoner. Nothing divine? No, he was divine, but not in way church teaches. He was teacher, prophet, enlightened being, but human, fully human. Then why did he die? What was the point? The alien's grip on my wrist tightened. I could feel him using the last of his strength to make sure I understood. He died to show you that love is stronger than power. That truth is worth dying for. That sacrifice for others is highest form of humanity. That's beautiful, I said, but that's not that different from what the church teaches. But here is what they hide, what they do not want you to know. He paused, struggling for breath. The monitors were screaming again. His heart rate was dropping into the 30s. Maria, get the crash cart ready, I said. Then to him, tell me. Whatever it is, tell me now. Jesus did not die alone on that hill. I know. There were 2 thieves crucified with him. The Bible mentions them. No, not them. I mean, he did not die alone without comfort. Your Bible says, everyone abandoned him. Disciples fled. Only women watched from distance. Yes? Yes, that's what the Gospels say. His eyes were starting to glaze. He was fading fast. Lie. We were there. My people, invisible but present, and we held him while he died. Tears were suddenly running down my face. I don't know why. I'm a surgeon. I'm supposed to be detached. But something about the image, Jesus dying on a cross, held by invisible angels or aliens or whatever they were, broke something in me. You comforted him. Yes, in his final moments. When he cried out, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" We whispered, "You are not forsaken. You are not alone. We are here. We have always been here." Did he hear you? Yes. And he smiled. Just before he died, he smiled because he knew the universe had not abandoned your species, that we were watching, that we cared, that his sacrifice was witnessed and would be remembered. The monitor flatlined. "He's in V-fib! Charging to 200!" Rita shouted. But even as I grabbed the defibrillator paddles, I knew it was too late. "Clear!" I pressed the paddles to his chest. His body arched with the shock. Nothing. Still flatlined. "Charging to 300, clear, shock, arch, nothing. Epi! Get me epi!" Maria handed me the syringe. I plunged it directly into his chest, into where I hoped his heart was. For a moment, nothing. Then a single blip on the monitor. Then another. Weak, irregular, but something. His eyes fluttered open one more time. "Thank you for trying. But listen, this is important. The secret. They are hiding. Save your strength. No time. Must tell. The secret is, Jesus knew we were there, knew we had been watching humanity for millennia, and he asked us for help. Help? What kind of help? After resurrection, after 3 days, we helped him appear to disciples, helped him with the body, the transformation. Wait, are you saying aliens helped Jesus resurrect? Not resurrect. He did that through divine power, but the resurrected body needed support, needed energy. We provided it, helped him maintain physical form for 40 days. My mind was reeling. I kept pressure on the wounds, kept watching the monitors. But I was barely functioning. This was insane. All of it. Why would you help him? Because he asked, and because we loved him. He was one of few, truly enlightened beings we had ever witnessed. His message of love, of forgiveness, of transcendence was universal truth, worth preserving. And the church knows this? About you helping him? Yes. Earliest church fathers knew about us, knew we were watchers, witnesses, but they decided to hide it, to claim Jesus was only about them, about earth, about humans alone. Why? Why hide that the universe is watching, that we're not alone? His breathing was almost gone now. Each word was torture for him, but he pushed on because power. If people knew, universe was vast, populated, that God's love extended beyond one planet. Church could not claim, exclusive truth could not control, through fear of hell, promise of heaven, only they could provide. So they rewrote the story. Yes, removed us from the narrative, made crucifixion about sin and punishment, instead of about love and sacrifice, made resurrection about magic, instead of about transformation, made Jesus into exclusive Savior, instead of universal teacher. The monitor was showing almost no activity now. His bioluminescence was nearly gone. He was a shadow of the being they'd brought in. Is there anything I can do? I asked desperately. Any way to save you? No, but you can. Save the truth. Tell people what I told you about Jesus, about us, about the universe, watching and caring. They'll never believe me. I'm a surgeon, not a theologian, and I have no proof. With his last strength, he reached to his chest, to something I hadn't noticed before. A small device embedded in his skin. His 6 fingers pried it loose and he pressed it into my hand. This is proof. Recorder. Visual and audio of everything I witnessed. 2,000 years, stored in crystal, matrix. Show them. Make them. Believe. I don't even know your name, I said, tears flowing freely now. Calith. My name is Calith, and I am honored to have met you. Dr. Marcus Webb, you remind me of him, of Jesus, the way you fought to save me, even when hopeless. Calith, I whispered, I promise. I'll tell them. I'll show them. Your death won't be meaningless. He smiled. It was a beautiful smile, peaceful and content. It already has meaning because you listened. Now others will listen. Through you. The monitor went to a solid tone. This time, when I shocked him, there was nothing. No response, no blip, no miracle. Calith was gone. Time of death, 3:17 a.m., I said, my voice breaking. In my hand, the crystal device pulsed with a faint inner light, and outside the trauma bay, I heard boots, military boots, coming fast. They were here for the body, and probably for me too. Everyone out, I said to my team. Right now. Whatever you saw here tonight, forget it. Patient privacy. HIPAA. You saw nothing. Dr. Webb, Rita started. Now, I barked. Trust me. You don't want to be here for what comes next. They fled just as the trauma bay doors burst open. 6 men in military uniforms stormed in, weapons drawn. Not pointed at me, but ready. Behind them came a woman in her 50s, gray hair pulled back severe, wearing a civilian suit that screamed federal agent. Dr. Webb, she said calmly. I'm Agent Sarah Carr, Defense Intelligence Agency. I need you to step away from the body. He was my patient, I said, not moving, and he just died. I need to complete my documentation and notify next of kin. He doesn't have next of kin, not on this planet. Step away from the body, now. The soldiers moved closer. I had the crystal device palmed in my hand, hidden. If they knew I had it, they'd take it. So I kept my hand in my pocket and stepped back slowly. What was he? I asked. What the hell was that? Classified, Agent Carr said, gesturing to the soldiers. They immediately began bagging the body, working with the efficiency of people who'd done this before. How many times has this happened? I asked. How many times have you brought dying aliens to hospitals? That's not your concern. Like hell it isn't. You brought him to my ER, to my trauma bay, and expected me to save him with no information, no preparation, no— We expected you to try, she interrupted. Which you did. Admirably. But he was already too far gone. 3 days of internal bleeding. He was dead before he arrived. We just gave him a place to die with some dignity. Dignity? I laughed bitterly. You shot him down! Her expression didn't change. We defended our airspace against an unidentified craft. Standard protocol. He told me he was an observer, a watcher, that his people have been observing Earth for thousands of years. He told you a lot of things, I imagine, Agent Carr said carefully. Dying beings often become delusional, say things that don't make sense. He told me about Jesus, about the crucifixion, about how your people, our government, the church, have been hiding the truth about what really happened. Now her expression changed, just slightly, a tightening around the eyes. Did he give you anything? Any device, any object, any— No, I lied smoothly. The crystal device felt warm in my pocket. He just talked. Delusional rambling. Like you said. She studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded to one of the soldiers who produced a tablet. You're going to sign this, Dr. Webb. It's a non-disclosure agreement backed by national security classifications. It says you will never speak about what you saw here tonight. Not to colleagues, not to family, not to media. Violation carries a minimum 20-year prison sentence. And if I refuse? Then you're a threat to national security. And threats to national security tend to disappear into black sites where no one can find them. The soldier had finished bagging Calith's body. They were wheeling him out, taking him to some underground facility where they'd dissect him, study him, and bury any evidence he'd ever existed. Sign it, Agent Carr said, holding out a pen. I looked at the NDA. Pages and pages of legal language that basically said my life was forfeit if I spoke. But Calith had given me proof, visual and audio proof of everything he'd witnessed. The truth about Jesus. The truth about humanity not being alone. If I signed this, I'd be letting them bury that truth. If I didn't sign, I'd disappear, and the truth would die with me anyway. What happens to his body? I asked. That's classified. Will you at least treat him with respect? He was a sentient being. He deserves— We'll handle it appropriately, she said, her voice softening slightly. Despite what you may think, Dr. Webb, we're not monsters. We know what he was. We know what his people represent. And we're trying to manage a situation that could cause global panic if mishandled. By hiding the truth? By revealing it slowly, carefully, when humanity is ready. And who decides when we're ready? People far above both our pay grades. I took the pen, signed the NDA, watched her smile with satisfaction. Smart choice, Dr. Webb. Go home. Get some rest. Forget this ever happened. She left with her soldiers and Caleth's body, and I went to the doctor's lounge, locked the door, and pulled out the crystal device. It was time to see what truth was worth dying for. I held the crystal up to the light. It was roughly the size of a thumb drive, but instead of plastic and metal, it appeared to be some kind of crystalline structure that pulsed with internal light. No visible ports, no obvious way to access whatever data it held. I tried connecting it to my laptop. Nothing. The computer didn't even recognize a device had been connected. I sat there frustrated, exhausted, covered in silver alien blood, holding what might be the most important object in human history and having no idea how to use it. Then the crystal grew warm in my hand, and suddenly my mind was elsewhere. I was still in the doctor's lounge, still sitting in my chair, but I was also on a hill. Golgotha. 2,000 years ago. I could see it, feel it, experience it as if I were there. The crystal was projecting directly into my consciousness. I saw 3 crosses. On the center one, a man hung dying. Jesus. I recognized him from countless paintings. But this was different. This was real. He was younger than most art depicted. His skin darker. His body marked by the brutal torture of Roman execution. Blood ran from the crown of thorns, from the nail wounds in his hands and feet, from the whip marks across his back. He was dying slowly, suffocating, the way crucifixion victims always died. Around the crosses, Roman soldiers stood guard, bored and professional. This was routine for them. Just another execution. Further back, a small group of women watched and wept. I recognized Mary, his mother, from her face twisted in agony. Mary Magdalene beside her. A few others. But what shocked me was what the humans couldn't see. Surrounding the cross, invisible to every human eye, stood dozens of beings. Caleth's people. Tall, indigo blue, bioluminescent. They stood in silent vigil, watching their friend die. And I understood something profound. Jesus hadn't been abandoned. The universe itself had sent witnesses to his death, to remember, to record, to ensure this sacrifice wasn't lost to history. The scene shifted. Hours had passed. Jesus was barely conscious now, his breathing shallow and labored. The sky had grown dark, the famous darkness at noon that the Gospels mention. Then he spoke, his voice barely a whisper. My God, why have you forsaken me? And I watched as Caleth, younger, whole, alive, moved closer to the cross. He reached up with his 6-fingered hand and placed it on Jesus' chest, just over his heart. Jesus' eyes opened slightly, and somehow, impossibly, he could see Caleth. You're here, Jesus whispered. We have always been here, Caleth responded. We will always be here. You are not alone. You have never been alone. Jesus smiled, blood on his lips, death approaching, and he smiled. Tell them, Jesus said, when the time comes, when they're ready. Tell them the universe loved them enough to watch, to witness, to remember. I promise, Caleth said. And then Jesus took his last breath. The scene shifted forward. 3 days later, the tomb. The massive stone rolling away. Jesus emerging, his body transformed, glowing with inner light. And surrounding him, supporting him, helping him adjust to his new form, were Caleth and his people. They weren't creating the miracle. They were assisting it, like midwives helping birth something new into the world. Jesus, resurrected, turned to Caleth and said, Thank you, old friend, for witnessing, for remembering, and for the help you will give my followers in the days to come. It is our honor, Caleth replied. The vision faded, and I was back in the doctor's lounge, tears streaming down my face, the crystal still warm in my hand. Caleth had kept his promise. He'd recorded everything. 2,000 years of watching and waiting, and then he'd died trying to deliver this truth to humanity. And now it was my responsibility. I had to decide what to do with it. I sat in that lounge for 3 hours, the crystal in my hand, wrestling with the biggest decision of my life. If I released this recording, everything would change. Christianity would fracture. The Catholic Church would deny it. Fundamentalists would call it satanic deception. Scientists would demand to study it. Governments would try to suppress it. People would lose their faith, or find new faith, or finally understand what faith really meant. My career would be over. Agent Carr would make good on her threat. I'd probably end up in prison or worse. My wife, Jennifer, and our 2 kids would suffer for my choice. But if I stayed silent, Caleth's death meant nothing. The truth he'd died to deliver would die with me, and humanity would continue in ignorance, never knowing that the universe had loved us enough to witness our darkest moment and our greatest miracle. I pulled out my phone, called Jennifer. Marcus? Her voice was heavy with sleep. It was 6 a.m. Are you still at the hospital? Yeah. Listen, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen without interrupting. I told her everything. The alien, the military, the crystal, the recording, the choice I had to make. She was quiet for a long time after I finished. Mark, she finally said, if you release this, we lose everything. Our life, our safety, our kids' future. You understand that? I do. But if you don't release it, you lose yourself. I know you. You'll carry this guilt until it destroys you anyway. I laughed softly. 20 years of marriage, and she still knew me better than I knew myself. So what do I do? I can't make this choice for you, she said. But I can tell you this. I married a man who became a doctor because he believed in helping people, in healing, in truth. Whatever you decide, make sure it's true to that man, not to fear, not to pressure, to who you really are. We talked for another hour. She didn't tell me what to do, she just listened, supported, reminded me of who I was. By the time we hung up, I knew what I had to do. I couldn't release the recording publicly. Not yet. It would be too chaotic, too uncontrolled. Agent Carr was right about one thing. Humanity needed to be prepared. But I couldn't stay silent either. So I did something in between. I made copies of the crystal's data, multiple copies, hidden in multiple locations. Then I reached out to people I trusted. A theologian I'd met at a conference, a journalist known for investigating government cover-ups, a documentary filmmaker, a Vatican insider who'd written about church corruption. I sent them each a piece of the recording. Not everything. Just enough to prove Caliph had been real, that something extraordinary had happened. And I included a message. This is part of a larger truth. A truth about Jesus, about the crucifixion, about humanity's place in a universe that has been watching and caring for us since the beginning. I'm releasing this in pieces to avoid chaos. Study it. Verify it. And when you're ready, when the world is ready, help me share the full truth. Dr. Marcus Webb. Within a week, I started getting responses. Some called me crazy. Others demanded the full recording. A few confirmed they'd analyzed the data and found no evidence of forgery. The truth was starting to spread. Slowly, carefully, exactly as it needed to. The military came for me exactly 12 days after I sent out the first recordings. I was at work, finishing up a routine appendectomy, when hospital security escorted me to the administrator's office. Agent Carr was waiting. You signed a non-disclosure agreement, Dr. Webb. I haven't disclosed anything publicly, I said calmly. I haven't given interviews. Haven't posted anything online. Haven't broken our agreement. You sent classified material to multiple individuals. I don't know what you're talking about. She pulled out a tablet, showing me surveillance photos. Me at a FedEx store. Me at a library computer. Me meeting with Father Rodriguez, the Vatican insider. We've been watching you, she said, and we know what you sent. Pieces of the aliens' recording, the crystal data. Prove it. Show me the signed NDA where it says I can't discuss what I learned with private individuals. She smiled coldly. Fine. Let's play it that way. You're fired, Dr. Webb. Effective immediately. Lawsuit pending for breach of patient confidentiality. He wasn't human. HIPAA doesn't apply. Try explaining that to a judge. We've also frozen your medical license pending investigation. You'll never practice medicine again. It was exactly what I'd expected. Exactly what Jennifer had warned would happen. Is that all? I asked. No. We're also investigating you for potential terrorism charges, possession and distribution of classified material, espionage. Take your pick. Terrorism? For sharing a video about Jesus? For sharing military intelligence about extraterrestrial contact? That falls under several different statutes, all of which carry life sentences. I felt the fear then. Real, cold fear. They were going to destroy me completely. So what do you want? I asked. You didn't bring me here just to threaten me. I want the master copy, the full recording, and I want you to contact everyone you sent pieces to and tell them it was a hoax, that you fabricated the whole thing. And if I do that, we drop the charges, restore your license, you go back to your life. And the truth stays buried. The truth stays managed, she corrected. Dr. Webb, you have no idea what's at stake here. We're not just protecting government secrets. We're protecting social stability. If people knew that aliens have been watching Earth for millennia, that they intervened in the crucifixion and resurrection, it would destroy organized religion overnight. Maybe organized religion deserves to be destroyed if it's built on lies. And what replaces it? Chaos? Violence? People have killed for less than you're suggesting. Religious wars, denominational conflicts, mass hysteria. Is that what you want? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I said finally. I don't want chaos. I don't want violence. But I also don't want to live in a world where we're too afraid of the truth to speak it. Then you're a fool, she said. And you're going to prison. She stood to leave, then paused at the door. Last chance, Dr. Webb. Give me the master copy. Recant. Save yourself and your family. I looked at her and thought about Khalith, about his final moments, about the promise I'd made. No, I said. I'd rather go to prison for telling the truth than live free protecting a lie. She nodded slowly. I was afraid you'd say that. Goodbye, Dr. Webb. 2 agents were waiting outside to arrest me. They held me in a federal detention center for 6 months while building their case. No bail. No visitors except my attorney. Jennifer and the kids could only communicate through monitored calls. My attorney, Richard Chen, was blunt. They're making an example of you. 20 years minimum if we go to trial and lose. But if you plead guilty and cooperate, maybe we can negotiate down to 5. What would cooperation look like? Give them the master recording. Publicly recant. Sign an even more restrictive NDA. Basically, help them bury everything. No. Marcus, you have 2 kids, a wife, a life. Is this recording really worth losing all of that? I thought about the vision Khalith had shown me. Jesus dying on that cross, not alone but surrounded by witnesses from across the universe. The message that we had never been abandoned, that cosmic love had never left us. Yes, I said, it's worth it. But then something unexpected happened. The people I'd sent the recording fragments to went public. Father Rodriguez published a theological analysis in a major Catholic journal, arguing that alien observers at the crucifixion didn't contradict church doctrine, but expanded it. That God's creation was vast and his love extended to all of it. The journalist, Sarah Martinez, wrote a series of articles about government suppression of alien contact evidence, using my case as the centerpiece. The documentary filmmaker, James Wu, released a short film showing the fragments I'd sent him, analyzed by scientific experts who confirmed the data showed signs of advanced technology beyond current human capability. The theologian, Dr. Patricia Holmes, gave lectures at major universities about what she called the cosmic Christ. The idea that Jesus' message was universal, not limited to one planet or one species. Within weeks, my case became international news, not because of what I'd done, but because of what others were doing with the information I'd shared. Religious leaders debated it on television. Scientists demanded to examine the evidence. Conspiracy theorists claimed it proved everything they'd always said, and public opinion began to shift. Protesters gathered outside the detention center. Free Dr. Webb. Truth is not a crime. We are not alone. Jennifer told me during one call that our kids had become minor celebrities at school. Everyone wants to know if their dad really met an alien, she said. They're handling it better than I expected. Are you okay? I asked. Honestly? I'm terrified, but I'm also proud. You did the right thing, Mark, and I'm going to stand by you no matter what happens. 6 months into my detention, the government's case started falling apart. The judge ruled that much of their evidence was inadmissible because it relied on classified information they couldn't present in open court without revealing state secrets. My attorney filed motions arguing that the NDA I'd signed was unconstitutional because it prevented me from speaking about religious and philosophical matters, violating my First Amendment rights. Public pressure mounted. Petitions with millions of signatures demanded my release. And then the Vatican made a shocking announcement. Pope Francis himself issued a statement. The Church has always taught that God's creation is vast and mysterious. If beings from other worlds witnessed the crucifixion and resurrection of our Lord, this does not diminish his sacrifice but magnifies it. It shows that the love of Christ extends throughout the cosmos. We should not fear this truth but embrace it as confirmation of God's infinite love. It wasn't a full endorsement of my story, but it was enough to shift the narrative from dangerous conspiracy theorist to man revealing uncomfortable but important truths. 3 weeks later, all charges were dropped. Agent Carr herself delivered the news to my cell. You win, Dr. Webb. The case has become too politically complicated. You're free to go. What about the recording? The truth? The truth is already out there. You made sure of that. We can't contain it anymore. She paused. For what it's worth, I hope you're right. I hope the universe is as loving as your alien friend claimed, because we're going to need all the cosmic love we can get to deal with the chaos you've unleashed. I walked out of that detention center into a world that had changed in 6 months. The conversation had begun. The questions were being asked. The comfortable certainties were being challenged. And somewhere, I hoped, Khaleth was watching and smiling. My medical license was eventually restored, but I never went back to surgery. I couldn't. Not after everything I'd experienced. Instead, I became something I never expected. A speaker. A teacher. A voice for the truth Khaleth had died to share. I gave lectures at universities, churches, conference centers. I showed the full recording to audiences who watched in stunned silence as the cosmic witnesses surrounded Jesus on the cross. The responses were mixed. Some people wept, said it deepened their faith, made them realize how much bigger God's love was than they'd imagined. Others were angry, said I was destroying Christianity, accused me of being a tool of Satan. Most fell somewhere in between, intrigued, questioning, wrestling with what it meant if aliens had been watching Earth, had witnessed Jesus, had helped with the resurrection. Churches split over it. Some denominations embraced the idea of cosmic Christianity. Others condemned it as heresy. But something profound was happening. People were talking about Jesus again, not as a distant religious figure, but as a real person whose sacrifice had been witnessed by the universe itself, whose message of love was so universal that beings from other worlds had come to observe and assist. I received thousands of messages, letters, emails, social media posts. Your story brought me back to faith after years of doubt. I'm a scientist and an atheist, but this makes me reconsider whether the universe might have meaning after all. I'm Muslim, and this doesn't contradict my faith. It expands it. Allah's mercy extends to all creation. I'm Buddhist, and the idea that cosmic beings witnessed the Buddha's enlightenment too makes perfect sense to me. The truth Khaleth had shared wasn't destroying religion. It was transforming it, making it bigger, more inclusive, more aware of humanity's place in a vast, populated, caring universe. Jennifer became my partner in the work. She'd been a high school science teacher, and she started developing curriculum about cosmic theology, how religious truth could coexist with scientific understanding of a vast universe. Our kids, now teenagers, gave presentations at their school about their dad's experience and what it meant to grow up knowing aliens were real and had witnessed Jesus. But not everyone was happy. I still received death threats, people who saw me as destroying their faith, their certainty, their comfortable worldview. Security at my lectures became necessary after someone threw a brick through our living room window with a note, "Heretic. You'll burn in hell." Agent Carr had been right about one thing. Truth did create chaos, just not the kind she'd feared. This was the chaos of growth, of expansion, of people struggling to integrate new information into old beliefs. It was painful, necessary, and ultimately, I believed, good. 5 years after Caleth's death, I returned to County General Hospital for a special event. The trauma bay where Caleth had died had been converted into a memorial. Not officially. The government still denied any alien had ever been there, but the staff knew, and they'd created a small plaque, hidden where only those who knew what to look for would see it. It read, "In memory of those who died teaching us truth we weren't ready to hear." Rita, now retired, met me there. We stood in the empty trauma bay together. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Everything you lost?" "I lost my career," I said, "my privacy, my comfortable life, but I gained something bigger, purpose, truth, the knowledge that I did what I promised a dying friend." "Do you think he knew?" "Caleth? How much trouble his truth would cause. I think he knew exactly, and he still chose to share it, because some truths are worth the chaos they create." She nodded slowly. "You know what I think about when I remember that night?" "What?" "How gentle you were with him. How you never stopped trying to save him, even when you knew it was hopeless. That's the doctor I always knew you were." "I learned that from Jesus," I said quietly. "From watching Caleth's recording. Jesus never stopped loving, never stopped trying, even when it cost him everything. That's the real message, not rules or doctrine or exclusivity. Just love, persistent, unreasonable, cosmic love." We stood in silence for a moment, remembering the being who had changed everything. Then my phone buzzed, a text from a number I didn't recognize. I opened it, and my heart stopped. It was a photo, a grainy, distant photo of the Arizona desert, and in it, clear as day, was a ship. Landing. The same design as the one Caleth had described his people using. Below the photo, a message. "They're coming back. Are you ready?" A friend. I called the number immediately. It went straight to an automated message. "This number is no longer in service." I showed Rita the photo. "Is this real?" She studied it carefully. "Could be. Could also be photoshopped." "Mark, you need to be careful. After everything you've been through, there are people who would love to set you up with fake evidence just to discredit you." She was right. But something about the photo felt genuine. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the image, zooming in, looking for any sign of manipulation. The metadata had been stripped. No location data. No timestamp. Nothing to verify its authenticity. But if it was real, if Caleth's people were returning, everything would change. Again. I posted the photo on my social media with a simple question. Has anyone else seen unusual activity in the Arizona desert recently? Within hours, I had dozens of responses. I saw lights last night near Sedona. My brother works at Luke Air Force Base. He says they've been on high alert for 2 weeks. I'm a truck driver. Drove the I-10 3 nights ago and saw something hovering over the Sonoran Desert. No sound, no lights, just there. The reports were consistent. Something was happening in Arizona. Something the government was trying to keep quiet but couldn't fully suppress. I booked a flight to Phoenix the next morning. Jennifer tried to talk me out of it. Mark, what if it's a trap? What if Agent Carr or someone worse is trying to lure you out? Then I'll deal with it. But if Caleth's people are really coming back, I need to be there. I owe him that. I rented a car and drove into the desert, following coordinates that had been mysteriously emailed to me from another untraceable address. The coordinates led to a remote area north of Phoenix, far from any roads or civilization. As the sun set, I parked and waited. For 3 hours, nothing happened. I started to think Jennifer was right. This was a setup, a wild goose chase. Then, at exactly 9:47 p.m., the air in front of me began to shimmer. A ship materialized. Not dramatically, not with sound or light or any Hollywood theatrics. It simply appeared. As if it had always been there, and my eyes were only now able to see it. The ship was beautiful, organic in design, like it had been grown rather than built. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed across its surface in the same indigo blue as Caleth's skin. A door opened, a ramp extended, and a figure descended. Tall, indigo blue skin, 6-fingered hands, silver eyes. For a moment, my heart leaped. Caleth? Had he somehow survived? But no. This was different. Taller. Female, if I was reading the subtle body language correctly. And when she spoke in my mind, the voice was different. Melodic where Caleth's had been gentle. Dr. Marcus Webb. I am Sareth, sister to Caleth whom you tried to save. I felt tears spring to my eyes. I'm so sorry. I tried. I did everything I could. We know. We watched. Your compassion in his final moments brought him great peace. For that, we are grateful. Why are you here? Because Caleth's death was not in vain. The truth he shared with you has begun to spread. Humanity is waking up, questioning, opening to larger realities. And the time has come for us to stop hiding. You're revealing yourselves? Officially? Yes. In 3 days we will land publicly, not in secret, not in military bases, in full view of your world. We will offer proof of our existence and our long observation of your species. The governments will try to stop you. They will try. They will fail. We have been patient for millennia, but patience has limits. Humanity stands at a crossroads. You are destroying your planet, dividing into warring factions, losing hope. We can help, but only if you are willing to accept that help. What do you want from me? To speak for us, to be a bridge between our species. You understand both worlds now. You know our truth. You carry Caleth's message, and you have the courage to stand despite opposition. I'm just one person. Caleth was just one person. Jesus was just one person. All great changes begin with individuals who choose truth over comfort. She extended her 6-fingered hand toward me. Will you help us, Dr. Webb? Will you help us complete what Caleth began? I looked at that alien hand, thought about everything I'd lost and everything I'd gained, thought about Caleth dying in my trauma bay, and Jesus dying on that cross 2,000 years ago. And I reached out and took her hand. Yes, I said, I'll help. 3 days later, I stood in Times Square in New York City, surrounded by millions of people and every camera in the world. Above us, filling the sky, were ships, hundreds of them, all sizes, all displaying the same bioluminescent patterns. The government had tried to stop it, scrambled jets, issued emergency alerts, demanded the ships leave immediately. But Sareth and her people had simply appeared anyway, peaceful, non-threatening, but absolutely undeniable. And they'd asked for me specifically, requested that Dr. Marcus Webb be present for first contact. So here I stood, on a hastily constructed stage, with the Secretary General of the United Nations on one side and Sareth on the other. She spoke, and somehow everyone heard her in their own language, in their own mind. People of Earth, we are the witnesses. We have observed your species since you first looked at the stars and wondered if you were alone. We have watched your civilizations rise and fall. We have witnessed your greatest triumphs and your darkest failures, and we have loved you through all of it. The crowd was silent, billions watching around the world. This was it. Undeniable proof. First contact. We come with a message from one of our own who recently died on your world. His name was Caleth, and in his final moments, he shared with Dr. Marcus Webb a truth we have kept for 2,000 years. She gestured to me. I stepped forward, my heart pounding. Caleth showed me that when Jesus Christ was crucified, I said, my voice amplified across the square. He was not alone. The universe itself sent witnesses to observe, to record, to remember, and to help with the resurrection that followed. Gasps, shouts, some of worship, some of denial. This doesn't diminish Jesus, I continued. It magnifies him. It shows that his message of love was so profound, so universal, that beings from across the cosmos came to witness it. That God's love is not limited to one planet, one species, one understanding. It's infinite. It's everywhere. It's been trying to reach us in 1,000 different ways, and we keep missing it because we insist our way is the only way. Sareth spoke again. We are not here to destroy your religions. We are here to expand them, to show you that the God you worship is so much bigger than you imagined, that the love you seek is already surrounding you, if only you would open your eyes to see it. In the coming days, we will share with you technology to heal your planet, knowledge to solve your energy crisis, wisdom to guide you toward peace. But we cannot force you to accept any of it. The choice, as it has always been, is yours. Will you welcome us as friends, or reject us as threats? Will you expand your understanding, or cling to comfortable limitations? Will you join the larger cosmic community, or remain isolated and alone? The decision is humanity's to make. She looked at me, and I saw Caleth in her silver eyes. The same compassion, the same hope. But know this. Whatever you choose, we will never stop watching, never stop caring, never stop hoping that one day you will choose love over fear, unity over division, truth over comfortable lies. That is the message Caleth died to deliver. That is the message Dr. Webb risked everything to share. And that is the message we offer you now, in full view of your world. We are here. We have always been here, And we are not your enemies. We are your family. The crowd erupted, some in celebration, some in terror, some in confusion. But above the noise, I heard something else. Church bells, ringing across the city, not in alarm, but in welcome. Pope Francis had issued a statement an hour before. If our cosmic siblings have come in peace, we must receive them in love. For God's family is larger than we knew, and that is cause for joy, not fear. Not everyone agreed. Not every religious leader embraced it. Not every government welcomed the contact. But enough did. Enough to tip the balance toward hope instead of fear. I stood on that stage, watching humanity's first day in a larger universe, and I thought about Caliph, about how he'd died in my trauma bay, a stranger in a strange land, sharing truth with his last breath, about how I'd promised to honor that truth, no matter the cost, about how that promise had cost me everything and given me everything in return. Sareth placed her hand on my shoulder. Thank you, Dr. Webb, for keeping your promise, for honoring my brother, for being the bridge we needed. I just did what anyone should do, I said. Listened to a dying patient and took his words seriously. That is more than most would have done. And it made all the difference. As the sun set over Times Square, with alien ships hovering peacefully overhead and humanity taking its first uncertain steps into a larger cosmos, I pulled out my phone. I had a message from Jennifer. The kids and I are watching on TV. We're so proud of you. Come home safe. We have so much to talk about. I smiled. Home, family, truth, love. In the end, that's what Caliph had died trying to teach us. That we were never alone. That the universe loved us. That Jesus had shown us the way, and cosmic witnesses had confirmed it. And that the greatest truth of all was simple. Love is universal. Love is eternal. Love is the force that binds the cosmos together. Everything else is just details. I left Times Square as the sun set, the ship still hovering peacefully above, humanity's future uncertain, but filled with more hope than it had known in a long time. And somewhere, across whatever dimension separates the living from the dead, I hoped Caliph was smiling. His final words had not been in vain. The truth had been shared, and the universe would never be the same.